it's Jennifer Valdez. Welcome back to another episode of From Gen to Generations, a Better Life podcast. I am here with the beautiful, wonderful, talented Ekaterina. She's amazing, you guys. You have to check out her art. It's gonna blow your mind. I'm gonna buy like 5 of them. I swear to God, one day.
Thank you.
Ekaterina, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a visual artist. I'm an impact artist, and I see myself as a global citizen.
Ooh.
Still wait for my global citizenship and global passport.
Okay.
I was born in Russia, raised in Israel, grew older in French Canada, and now I'm here in America. And art has always been my passion. I love nature, and I love connecting people to nature through art.
Through art. That's amazing. Just amazing.
Thank you.
So you were saying that you were born in Russian. So can you do some translation for our Russian viewers?
Да, конечно, без проблем. Привет, мои дорогие. Меня зовут Екатерина. Мы сейчас находимся в Лос-Анджелесе. И интересно, потому что имя Екатерина вообще-то настолько общее имя у нас дома, да, но тут в Америке для людей это абсолютно новое имя, поэтому меня зовут чуть-чуть по-другому. Вот. I just said that, you know, Ekaterina is such a common name in Russia, and like there's probably so many Ekaterinas too that like are listening. But in America, it's such a new and nuanced name, yes, which is fascinating. And actually, ironically, like, you know, there's this TV series called Catherine the Great.
Yes.
So I was named after her, like after the empress. There was, you know, she was German, and then she moved to Russia. And I was hoping that the series is going to be called Ekaterina.
Right.
But it was Catherine the Great.
Oh.
I know, and I was like, we
like,
had our chance.
That was my moment.
Exactly.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your field?
My field, right, yes. So I'm a visual artist, I'm a muralist, and I do fine art. And I'm creating this intersection called impact art. And my goal lately has been to create more impact artists because I believe in power of art and its ability to shift cultural discourse.
Okay.
And why is because I feel right now our culture is based on consumerism and individualism. And personally, I love our collective. I love community, right? And then also seeing how nature is struggling, how our world is slowly collapsing. And
yes,
I don't want to go into all the negative things, but how can we encourage people to move towards environmentalism versus consumerism?
Right, absolutely. That's beautiful. Thank God you guys are doing that. You guys are like artist warriors. Like you are fighting for the betterment of everybody and for the planet. And that's so important because everybody has this like notion of like, I'm going to do this because I'm building my own wealth. I'm building my own, you know, knit of individuals. But it goes so much further than that. You really have to think bigger, larger. If you have the power and the talents and the will to all, why not? I love that.
Thank you. Yes. And I feel like each one of us has a power to make a difference. And also power, because like you would think like, okay, artist, like what can you do?
Right. Well, everything, inspire, create.
Yes, but you know what I mean? Like it's like as creating a new type of future. And actually growing up in Russia, like for example, my grandparents, they weren't allowed to listen to certain music. They weren't allowed to enjoy certain poetry or even wear certain things. But mostly art because the government knew how art can affect and influence people.
Right.
And so if they would listen to something the government didn't agree with, they would be sent to Siberia so they also don't influence other people.
Wow.
So art is a very powerful tool.
Actually had the pleasure of seeing some of her art. And tell us a little bit about the prayer in the art. Because it's actually not just a visual piece, it's also an auditory piece.
Yes. Thank you for asking that. Prayer for the Earth series, there's a universal prayer for the planet that is transcribed underneath the gold leaf in the painting. And the actual prayer actually, in order to, before I chose to, let me rephrase it. I went to different mosques, synagogues, churches, Buddhist temples, spoke to my Kabbalistic teachers, to my Hindu monk, making sure it honors all the religions.
Beautiful.
And at the same time transcends them, reminding us that we are stewards of this planet and that this is our shared commitment to protect our home.
Yes.
And
Can you say that in Russian?
Actually, I don't know if I can say, I've never said that in Russian, but in a nutshell, то, что мы все, это наша миссия следить за нашим домом и помогать нашей природе, защите природы. И то, что каждый из нас может создать новый и более лучший мир в будущем.
Beautiful. Can you describe a challenging project that you've had to work on or that you had to push through? Have you ever had a challenge that you were just like, how am I going to get through this?
Actually, initially when you asked me about the questions, we had this one idea, but now that I'm thinking about it, the most challenging thing in my life was actually learning new languages.
Okay.
Right, and like moving from one country to another. And every time I started from zero. Basically an infant who doesn't know how to say my name is, who doesn't know how to count in the language. And that was the most challenging thing for me. And I remember, for example, when we moved to French Canada, it was 2 last years of my high school.
Oh, wow.
In a language that I do not speak. And I remember like they hired translator once. The school hired translator, and the translator tells me, look, if you don't graduate on time, no worries, you're going to go to school for adults. I was like, me?
Yeah, you're like, hell no.
No. I was
like, that's a bad thing. I had to do that. We'll talk about that later.
That's
but I know the feeling.
Right. And I was like, no way. Because and it just came from Israel. And in Israel, I remember, I just learned Hebrew and I was top of my class. Not only top of my class, I was top of all the classes of the same age.
Yeah.
And here I come to Canada and I have to restart all over again. And no one really spoke English at the time. I didn't speak English either. So it's like neither French, neither Hebrew, neither Russian. So I was like, okay, it's just going to be me and a paper dictionary, because at the time that's how we did it. And I was the only immigrant who graduated on time.
Wow.
Yeah, because they didn't have proper program to educate us. It was up north Canada, so they didn't have a proper system for it.
Yeah.
And I did not give up. And I studied day and night. And I said to myself, I was so determined that I'm going to graduate and I'm going to leave that little town and I'm going to go to Montreal, to a bigger city, and I'm going to start working on my dreams, on my life. And
there you go.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh my God, I love that.
Thank you. And the other thing that I would have mentioned that was challenging was doing 100 days of silence. And that's actually...
Wait a minute, you did 100 days of silence?
Yes, I did. Over 100 days of silence within a year. So it was going through different chunks. The first one was 30 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I was married at the time, so I couldn't do the full complete.
Yeah.
I will do it eventually again, and probably for longer, because it was the most profound experience of my life.
Oh my gosh. But why?
Why?
Yeah. Why?
Yeah, there are many reasons. First of all, I was working on the project for Born in Indonesia, raising awareness about deforestation of the rainforest. And I needed to focus. And there's so many distractions in our life. And you're being pulled left and right. And especially living in Los Angeles, there's an event happening every day. Someone's calling you to do something nonstop. And I knew I needed to retreat. And to connect to the divine. And I literally asked the universe, I said, I see what's happening in the world. And as a young woman who doesn't have children, I want to help and basically use me as an instrument. I'm in full surrender. I'm here to serve.
So it was a moment of divinity. You gave yourself, in essence, your voice to in a form of sacrifice, to be able to turn yourself into the conduit of how you were going to use yourself to be that influence in others.
Yeah, I was just
beautiful.
Thank you. And so, and also, I feel like we are pulled left and right in our opinions, the way we are, the culture, and all of this. And that was also kind of tearing me apart. I was like, okay, what are we supposed to do? Because there's so many different opinions. And I had to connect to my inner knowing, to my higher self, to really know how I'm supposed to.
Trust yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because our answers are within. And we only we know, and connected, of course, to higher power. Like that's how we can really.
Exactly.
Because actually, like if you think about it, like our heart, or like we can't necessarily control anything, right? Like everything works automatically in our body.
Yeah.
But then our breath is the only thing that we can not think about. Or if we think about it, we can change it. And then actually that affects our heart rate, right? The way our lungs expand, etc. So through breath, we can actually affect our nervous system.
Yes.
So it's like an easiest pathway. So yes, we can try to like take, medications or whatever to like to change it, because it's like, but then it's like, or we just go at the root. But being at the root, we do also need practice, and determination is our power of mind.
Right.
Also exercise. Like working out.
Which also affects the breath.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because you have to breathe harder.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you have to, like, for example, if you're doing some kind of like aerobics exercise, running, treadmill, the Stairmaster, swimming.
Swimming is
I
like
love swimming.
Me too. It like calms you down.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, because you have to. Lifting weights too.
Lifting weights, yes.
You take in a breath, you take out the breath. It's all breathing.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah.
And dancing.
I wish I could dance.
Do you ever at home like put your favorite song on and dance?
Absolutely.
That's all you need.
Yeah. But like professional dancing, no. I do know how to like EDM and like like old school gangster like get down. Back to the topic of stress. Can you tell us, please, how you've dealt with the stress of being a female entrepreneur, of being in your feminine power, and still managing a home, a lifestyle where you have, people that you depend on you, people that want your attention, your time, you're trying to build a home and be successful. How did you deal with that?
Okay, if to be completely honest, I don't have kids. I'm divorced.
That's how you deal with it. No,
you just don't have it.
You just don't do it. Yeah.
It's actually a big topic, because I'm giving now currently all of myself to my work, and I do have a dog, a Siberian Husky, who is my baby.
You're a dog mommy.
Yeah, so it does like limit me in a way to like travel and the things like it's kind of like having a child just for a child. Also give a lot of my time to my friends, and like of course like my mom, and I'm there. Yet I don't think I'm ready yet for a family, because I feel like I haven't built enough of a foundation for me to be a mother and to be strong enough in my career. Yes.
Okay. So.
But I don't know what the limit is, right? Like I don't know. Like it's a hard topic.
You don't know.
I don't know.
You're never ready.
I don't know.
It's just kind of one of those things that when it happens, you're like, well, let's figure this out, life.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, personally, I don't know. I know now in today's modern age, like a lot of women do have the luxury of actually planning their pregnancies with artificial insemination and then all the birth controls you can be on and off of it. Like there's a lot more of that going on, and that's awesome. But for someone like me who both times was a surprise,
right?
and I was never ready. I always like to ask that question of my women to see where,
Right, how they manage it.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, like when I was married, right, it's like you're still managing a household, right? Like you have a husband, and honestly having help, not being shy of asking for help from your partner, and having cleaning lady. A must.
Oh, yes.
A must.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're supporting somebody who's like majority of the time an immigrant, and like like my mom and my grandma, when we immigrated to Israel, they had to start there. So it's actually you're helping somebody, helping another family, and then you have more time for the work that you need to focus on. I was lucky enough in my marriage that we had a lot of support, but then also when you do have a lot of support, when you have a team of people at home, someone has to manage them.
Yeah.
And it's also like falls on you. And then like now that I'm alone, I can do all these things myself, and it's actually fast, and I'm just like, it's like boom, 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 done. Well, except like, cleaning, of course, like this is important for me. Yeah, so having help, and I know like if I will ever have a kid, and I'm manifesting to the world, I want to have nannies.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Girl, I have one.
Good.
I love her.
Good.
She's
Yes.
amazing.
Yes. Yeah. Right? Because it's
Thank
like
you, Lex.
because you can't do it all. No. Beautiful. Yes.
Along the same topic of the previous question, let's talk about imposter syndrome. Do you deal with imposter syndrome? Have you? And how do you push through that?
Yeah, I think we all do. I think it's like the main thing is like, okay, it's an artist, for example, right? I feel like, and I know so many people, they struggle to call themselves artists, even though they've been creating art for the longest time. And yesterday, actually, like I calculated how many years I've been painting, and it's been 22 years since I went to art school.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, since I started painting, and it's a long time.
Yes, you're a master.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure there's 10,000 hours in there at least.
Oh man, yeah.
For sure.
Yes.
And so basically what happened is that like, one day I sat down when I started working. I was at the time I was in university, and actually went to study business. I studied international business, and I felt like, you know, I'm not studying fine art in university, so like, can I really call myself an artist? Even though I went to art school as like, you know, like technical and fine art, and you know, I've been giving grants and like scholarships, you know, as a kid, and my family didn't have money to pay for it. So I was very privileged in that way. Actually, my high school teacher, she saw my work and she sent it to Museum of Tel Aviv, to their school.
Oh wow.
And they accepted me, and I studied with them for 2 years. Basically any art supplies I wanted, and like I'm like tearing up a little bit because it's like it was a dream come true.
Yeah.
All of it to say, so I was like, okay, like, am I an artist? And I remember I sat down once, and I actually had like, it was like quite a few actually paintings I think already on the wall from my first animalized series that, you know, eventually like launched me into my art career. And I remember looking at them, and I sat down and I prayed, and I committed. I said, from now on, I'm a visual artist. And that's it. Like, I committed. And so I started introducing myself as a visual artist. And
there you go.
So it was just decision making in a way.
It was, oh my God, I went through that exactly. Like when I first became a business owner and I was no longer an employee, I lost my identity because I was so used to just being the nurse. I'm just the nurse. I'm the nurse. I'm the nurse. Now the transition was, I am the CEO. I am the owner. I'm the boss, right? And I struggled with that so much, like that I was a boss. I am now a boss. Like now I say that shit. Like, I'm the boss. Like I mean it. But at first it was like, who is this person? What do you don't say it out loud.
Right.
You know, like if you say it out loud, it might disappear, you know? But, and I really struggled with finding that. And then once I started to get my confidence and be like, hey, you know what? Like I am educated in this manner. I too have 25 years in this field, you know? So I've earned my right to say, hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm the owner.
Yes.
And I own it now. But at first I was very timid, very like, oh yeah, no, it's mine. You know, it was definitely a delusion of grand. I felt like I was having delusions of grandeur. I felt like I didn't belong in the position. It was a struggle for me. But again, coming from my mental health background, it's no wonder that I felt that way. But yeah, I relate to being able to, when you first start to say, this is who I am, this is the decision I'm making, this is my title, that's when you start to own it.
Right. And even when you start to own it, it's actually interesting. So, okay, I'm just going to share with you a little bit. I love bringing examples from nature.
I love
so, caterpillar, right? Before she becomes a butterfly, when she's in the cocoon, because she is a mush, right? Like, and so her own immune cells starting attacking her, thinking that she's dying, right? So it's like trying to preserve what was.
Right.
So she doesn't die. So we're still attached to our past self.
Right.
So until the so-called imaginative cells kick in and overpower the immune system, and so then she becomes a butterfly.